This is my review for November 10th, 2025. Lots of P&L volatility today. You can see that, which is quite evident. I did come away positive, probably break even. I might even, considering the number of trades, I might even be red on the day after commissions. But considering where I was earlier today, I would say I'm very pleased with where I ended the session. Um, but I am looking forward to diagnosing these three big losers right here. I think something was going on with my system and something was going on with my psychology that needed to be fixed right here. So we will diagnose that. I had 18 trades today, which is a lot. I don't want every session to be that way, but unfortunately, when I have a drawdown like the way I did, it's gonna take me a lot of trades to get out of it, which is a good thing. It's good to slowly bankroll your way out of losses like this instead of trying to, if I take a big hit and I'm down on the day, I don't want to sit there and find the a trade that I can hold and make it all back in one trade. I would rather take smaller trades and make it back slowly, chip away at it, so to speak. And that's exactly what I did today, which I'm very proud of. 18 trades, 8 wins, 10 losses for a 44% win rate. Yet again, a negative win rate on today. This system that I'm trading seems to be very sporadic in that way, where I do have a lot of variation in win rate. Some days it's 80, 90%. Some days it's as low as like 30%. Um, I'm not sure there's an answer as to why that happens. It's just purely an observation at this point. My average winning trade was 4.4 ticks, and my average losing trade was 3.2 ticks. So I did have a positive expectancy on risk reward. However, it's roughly break even, which is exactly where I am today. That makes sense. So let's jump into the trades themselves. Real quick before I do that, though, I do just want to do a brief overview of my last report card. So this was Friday, and Friday was a very good day for me. So in my AI review, I have a 3 loss rule that the AI keeps putting in there, which 3 consecutive losses is a lot, and there have been times in the past where walking away after 3 consecutive losses would have saved me a lot of trouble. The problem with that mentality now, though, is that this system that I'm trading, on some days can have a negative win rate. It can have a very bad win rate. I think if we scroll up here, I had a session. I had a session last week that had a very low win rate. That one was 42%, 66. Was it this session? No, this one was very high. So maybe it was the I think this was Thursday, 42% win rate, but positive. I had a positive expectancy on it. The win rate is gonna jump around a lot. And when I have a low win rate, there is going to be times like today where I take 3 consecutive losses. Boom, boom, boom. There's a version of myself who will overtrade, and that will trigger bad emotions, and I will become impulsive, and I'll become discontent. Or there's a version of me that will acknowledge that I'm down 3 consecutive losses and will try to diagnose and fix what's going wrong and to uh, uh, be better from it and to try to fix the session. And I think that's exactly what I did today. So, um, While my daily report cards, which are AI produced, have a 3 loss limit rule, I don't think that it is a rule in my system, because objectively speaking, my system can have days where it's a very low win rate, and those 3 consecutive losses are going to happen. What is important, though, is to never attempt an idea more than twice. And I'm pretty sure I did that today. Sometimes it sneaks in there, and during review, I'll find, oh, I did trade an idea more than twice. But as it stands right now, I'm pretty sure I didn't do that today. I'm pretty sure today's going to be a good day in review. Summary from Friday's session. Very strong session. Most of the day was spent around VWAP. Am I still looking at the right day? Yeah, yeah. So choppy price action. System guardrails prevented small execution or context slips from turning into a red day. So I'm pretty sure there were a lot of days last week where setups were occurring, systematic setups were occurring, but I was objectively choosing not to trade them, and it turned out to be good decisions. Easiest trade. Order block tape, ATR confluence, filled immediately and ran. Missed an opportunity. Things I did good, didn't fight bias, so I didn't fight the trend. My longs and shorts were very structured. Let's see if that's true today. It looks like it mostly is. But when I started running into trouble, those longs were failing, and I think we'll see. I can actually show you on the price action. These were occurring around 10:07 to 10:09. 10:07 to 10:09. Yeah, so it was this area right here, where I was running into trouble. And you can see it actually makes sense. It does look like an uptrend, but it's a really struggling uptrend, and it's running into a lot of trouble on the way up. And you look at it now, we are in a range. This is a range day. We are clearly bracketing between these two areas. So I think it's evident that when like this looks like it's a continuing uptrend, so longs are valid. I think when we do our review, we're going to find that all the longs I took here were valid, but we're failing. We failed once, we failed twice, and then we went on to fail a third time to make a new high. So back here, though, I mean, that is a very strong uptrend. And I think it's worth noting that when I have a very strong uptrend, I seem to perform much better than when the trend is slowing down and there's mixed signals and the trend is struggling. I think that's when my system struggles, which is a good observation. That being said, though, this was the worst part of my day, and then through this price action here, I was able to make it back. Which I don't like the term "make it back" because that seems like I'm revenge trading, but I was able to take objective and systematic trades to fix my P&L and to bankroll it, taking small trades to fix it. So my system is designed to be a trend system, but if I can adjust properly, there's potential for it to be a ranging system too. It can work for mean reversions. Let's see if through review I can systematize that and find a way to take full advantage of mean reversions instead of just having to be discretionary about it. So let's jump into some trades here. We'll start with trade number 1, which is a 5-tick loss to the long side. I'll go ahead and long the pullback, 21.25. Taking a little longer than I'd want. I think I pulled it there for a 5-tick loss. And that's basically just because we failed to make a new high. So if we continue to watch here, if I had just let that breathe a little bit more, it would have been really hard to hold that because it is steadily downtrending against me. But hypothetically, had I let that breathe with maybe a 10 tick stop, it would have went in my favor, and it would have went in my favor quite a bit. I don't want to make any changes based on that assumption, but it's information. There could have been the potential to make a profitable trade out of that had I let it breathe a little bit more. Part of me wants to see if there's a correlation between using the actual ATR indicator and using wider stops on my trades. But I don't want to overcomplicate anything. What I have now is working arguably, and I just want to keep it that way for as long as possible. I'm very calm. Beats per minute is at 94, which is extraordinary. I'm content with P&L. I'm going to put maybe patient because this is only 2 minutes after the open, so this is pretty aggressive. I will also mark it as an aggressive scalp. We did have time frame confluence here, so I'm going to say that today was a risk-on environment. My entry was good. It was systematic entry. And I'll also call my exit good. I think getting out where I did was a good call, even if in hindsight it would have worked. At the time, I mean, that is a nasty downtrend. We just failed to make a new high. There's a lot working against this trade. I'm going to put missing context, and I will write a little note down here. Failed highs. Simple as that. When we reject highs, best stay out of it, or just wait for a little bit more confirmation. Patches of support, I did have some small order blocks. This was an ATR candle continuation with good momentum. I'm going to call it a C grade setup. It's not amazing. We were above the 50 SMA at the time of entry. We were also above the +1 VWAP band. I felt clear about this trade, even though I wasn't totally clear. I was missing some context, but at the moment I felt very clear. We have trend favor. And I might even go as far as to say support resistance area. Yeah, let's throw that on it anyways. Support resistance area. And I did have slip favor on this one. I will yellow star this trade. I think missing context it's a mistake. I should be paying a little bit more attention, but it's also a decent setup objectively. So trade number 2 is a 5 tick profit to the long side. Let's go ahead and listen to the narration. It looks like it might want to give it to me, but it is being very slow to get there. Long 25.50 on the ATR pullback. Got 5 ticks out of it. So yeah, very, very clean trade here. Very, very clean trade. This is kind of like a breakout pullback, so I'm going to tag this breakout ATR candle fade because we were long on a red ATR candle. I'll call this an A setup. I do really like this one. We're above the 50 SMA. We're above the +1 VWAP. Factors of support, I had really good trend favor. Let's take a look at the tape. I think tape was pretty strong here. There. And yeah, we have very strong tape. So I will also tag that. But that's pretty much it. So objectively, these aren't getting a lot of factors of support, but it's still, some factors of support are worth more than others. And the fact that we're getting in, we have full time frame confluence. The fact that we have full time frame confluence and we have an ATR candle pullback and it's a breakout of a prior range. I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer. I'll also put support resistance on that. I had slip of favor. I was clear. How calm was I? I was very calm. 90 beats per minute. Sheesh. Such a huge improvement from a couple weeks ago. This will be a green star. Conservative, scalp, risk on, entry good, exit good. I could have held it a little longer, but I'm not going to obsess over that. That'll be a green star, obviously. Trades 3 and 4 are both break evens, but let's watch trade number 3 first. I'm going to bid 29.25, build. Okay, so I remember what was going on here. We were in a very strong uptrend, and we kept putting in ATR candles to the upside. So we would put in a green ATR candle, and I would bid the pullback on those candles, but then it would just kind of chop around. It would just kind of hover on my entry, and I would exit out of fear. I would get too scared, and I would exit. And it's kind of taken a while to go where I want it. I'm going to take it off for a break even. Let's see if that was a good idea or not. I take it off for a break even, and then it immediately goes in my favor, like 5 ticks. More, 6 ticks. So this would have been a very good trade. And had I nailed these few trades here, I think my session would have been over a lot sooner, and I may have spared myself a lot of those mistakes that I ended up making later. I at least would have had more cushion when those mistakes came. So this is an ATR candle continuation. Did I mark the last one? I did. Okay. ATR candle continuation with momentum. I'll call this a B setup just because I don't think we have a lot of factors of support. I'm still remarkably calm here, content and patient. Again, trend favor. That might be it. Honestly, I don't think I had anything else going for us at the time of entry. Just a strong trend, and sometimes that's all you need. What's the tape look like? Can I throw strong tape tag on here? Kinda, yeah, it is a pretty strong tape. Definitely stronger than the sellers. So let's throw the strong tape tag on there. Entry good, but exit early. And I'm also going to tag this as fear. I was afraid of holding this trade. Conservative scalp, risk on environment. Slip favor. Actually, I'm going to take this no slip because it's kind of tight price action up here. And I was clear. Oh, I also need to tag a good pulse check on my first trade. So this will be a yellow star, and I suspect that I'm going to copy the tags over to trade 4, but let's just watch it and make sure first. There's the fill. And I'm also going to take this one off for a break even. It's just kind of hovering too long, and there's not a lot of volume here. So yeah, I take that off for a break even, and then it immediately goes in my favor, like 8 ticks. Maybe more, like 10 ticks. And I don't even think I had, yeah, MAE was 1. It went against me 1 tick, and I took it off. So I'm going to paste the tags from the last one in, but I'm going to red star this one. I really should have held this. Like, this was a really bad call. I'm also going to change my clarity tag, so I'm definitely not clear if I'm taking things off that quick. Yeah, I'll keep it at that. For notes, I will put hold more in all caps. I should have held this. Trade number 5 is a 3-tick profit to the long side. Let's watch the recording. Exact same as last time, but I learned my lesson, and I hold this. This time I'm going to give it a little bit more breathing room. trying to work the exit at 32.25, maybe 32. I got the 3 ticks out of it. So I could have held this one longer. I will actually paste the same tags in from earlier. This is also an exit early, but this will be a green star because at least I held it. At least I held this one like I was supposed to. That being said, though, I could have gotten something much better out of it. I could have got like 6 or 7 ticks out of it instead of the 3 that I got. But that's okay. This will be a green star. Trade number 6 is a 2-tick loss to the long side. And if I remember correctly, these were good losses. You can get the reversal long 30.5. Move a stop up. I'm gonna go ahead and pull this for a 2-tick loss because we're struggling down. So yeah, this was essentially a time-based stop. For if we're in an uptrend and we get an ATR candle pullback, and I'm long into that pullback, it better be quick. It better take back that pullback quick. And this clearly didn't. We're also putting in lower highs on the 3-second chart. And we're just kind of struggling downwards. We're struggling to move up, and that is a good sign to get out of it. And if I play the video a little bit, yeah, that was a very good cut because it would have stopped me out for the full $100 or whatever. So this was a very good cut. This was an ATR candle fade with momentum. I'll call this a B setup. It is a good setup. Just sometimes it doesn't work, and that's fine. Entry good, exit good. Very glad with that exit. This was a conservative scalp, risk on. We did have some order blocks, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, we had big order blocks, small order blocks, trend favor. We had a support resistance area that we were trading into. I'll even go as far as to call this multiple factors of support. Yeah. No mistakes, slip favor, clear, calm, content, patient. I think my heart rate was actually pretty elevated, so maybe I'll change that calmness tag to maybe. I think it's pretty telling that if my heart rate spikes like that, then something's up. Well, it doesn't spike until after, but I also have to compensate for the fact that my heart rate monitor is going to be delayed sometimes. So I'll call that good. That'll be green star loss. Trade number 7 is a 5-tick profit to the long side. Let's listen to the recording. 31 set 25. Out at 32.50. So that was a decent long trade right there. So very fast trade. I had to take this one off quick because it was so volatile. When we put in a sharp downward move on high delta like that, that's screaming volatility, and my system tends not to work that well in high volatility. That being said, though, we printed that move and then we started defending. We weren't pushing down lower, which is always a good sign. So I was able to catch the long back up into it. So this was technically a breakout retest. So this will be an ATR candle fade on a breakout. I'll call this a setup above the 50 SMA. Right? We were above the 50 SMA. Big order blocks, small order blocks. I'll call that reclaim because we did have a pretty good reclaim there. We had trend favor. I'll call that multiple factors of support. Entry good, exit good. This was an aggressive scalp, but considering we're in a risk-on environment, I am okay with that. Time frame confluence. I gotta make sure we have time frame confluence on all our other long trades today. And it looks like we do. I'm into the long. So, what was my heart rate at? My heart rate was 93. I'm so happy with that. Calm, content, patient, clear, slip favor. This will be a green star for sure. Trade number 8 is a 2-tick loss to the long side. I think I remember this one as a late entry. Let's rewind just a couple seconds so I can see. TR candle down, I'm going to bid 30.2. I got the fill at 30.5, but it's a little tight. I'm not crazy about it. I will pull this if it doesn't continue upwards. Yeah, I'm going to pull that, I think, for a 2-tick loss. So I think that was a good loss. And even if it isn't, that is a very objective loss. And the reason being is that there's 2 reasons why the execution was bad on this. One is because by the time I enter, this was an ATR candle down, which I'm fading into to catch the reclaim up. By the time I get the entry, we've actually already put in an ATR candle up. So we go ATR candle down, ATR candle up, and I'm long at that point. The problem with that is usually that's an indication of a slip range. If price jumps down and then jumps back up immediately, chances are we're in a slip range, and I am slip against. I'm against that slip. We've also put in an ATR candle up, which we know price likes to reclaim those. So we've got reclaim against and slip against. The second reason why the execution was botched is because hypothetically with these trades, my target is going to be the start of the ATR candle. So I've got those marked out by these little white lines on the indicator. That's my target. If my entry is only 2 ticks below my target and my expectancy is only 2 ticks, well, then I'm technically risking the bottom of the ATR candle, which is like 5 ticks, but I only have an expectancy of 2 ticks. So the setup is ruined at that point. It's just not good. So I will take this as entry late. My exit was good though, because I was aware of the mistake that I had made. I will put impulsive on here because I think I was just a little too quick on the trigger. This was an ATR candle fade with momentum. I'll call it a C setup because on its face it's decent, but it's not perfect either. And we're kind of too tight on the price action. I will tag that too. Slip against. We still have trend favor though. And I think we had small order blocks in our favor, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. And that's pretty much it. Yeah, just a late entry. This was an aggressive scalp in a risk on environment. We still had full time frame confluence, but we're slowing down now. We're actually below the. I won't read too much into that. Anyways, slip against. I was still clear, but my calmness is yellow. I'm not completely calm here. Yes, content, and yes, patient. There was a big break in between my last trade and this trade, almost 20 minutes. This will be a yellow star. Decent setup, but botched execution. This is where I turn into a losing streak. So the next 4 trades are all losers. All right, trade number 9 is a 3-tick loss to the long side. Build 3150. I'll move my stop up. Huh. Just because I don't really want this to come back against me too much. Interesting. There's a bit of a down move there. I did eat quite a bit of drawdown there. And I'm going to take this off for a 3-tick loss. So I think that was a good cut. Let's fast forward just to see if it would have worked. So it would have worked, but it's still a good cut. And I'll explain why. The price action is super tight. We're just hugging the moving average. We're still overall uptrending, but it's a struggle grind. And I might even add a tag for that. But I think the price action too tight tag does a good enough job of explaining it. This was kind of an aggressive scalp because we're so close to the highs on what might be a trend or a range rather. And I'll even tag that range against slip against. I was pretty clear here. And we did have some big order blocks that we were trading into, but no small order blocks. Entry. Was my entry early or was my entry late? I honestly don't think there should have been an entry here. That's tough. Entry good, exit good, because the entry was objective and the exit was a good cut before it might have come back against me a lot. That being said, though, this is going to be a yellow star. This was an ATR candle continuation, which I thought had momentum, but it's really not good momentums. This will be a D setup. We were technically above the 50 SMA, but we're just so close to the 50 SMA. I really want it to breathe a little bit more. And I think that might be the conclusion I come to with these 4 consecutive losses. It's actually 5 consecutive losses, is that the price action was way too tight. And if I had just waited a little bit, let me change my contentment to maybe in that case, because I'm not content with waiting for the price action to get looser. And I'll write a note. Price action needs to be looser. And I suspect this is also going to be the case for the next couple trades. So let's copy my tags. This will be a yellow star. Trade number 10 is a 8-tick loss to the long side. This is, again, we're way too tight here. The price action is so incredibly tight. This will also be, it does go in my favor though. I could have got 3 ticks out of that if I was quick enough. Yeah, and then it just shoots against me. So I will paste in the tags from the last trade, but I'm going to switch execution to entry late and exit late. I should have got out of that way quicker. And price action is just way too tight. Price action way too tight. I'll make a note of that down in the note section. This will be a yellow star because they are objective setups. They're just the environment is bad. Location and the environment is not good for these trades. So that'll be a yellow star. Trade number 11 is a 5-tick loss to the long side. It looks like I'm taking the reclaims. This is going to be an ATR candle fade below the 50 moving average. Am I calm here? No, I am not calm. My heart rate is clearly elevated. So maybe calm, maybe content, and I'll put maybe patient because I am attacking in pretty quick succession here. I'll even go back and change that on the last trade too. My market rate is in between. I am no longer clear on what's happening here. This is an ATR candle fade on what I thought was momentum, but the price action is way too tight. And I think I'm impulsive here. And overtrading. I'll put those two there. This is a D setup, and we're actually below the 50 SMA now, which isn't necessarily against my system, but it just means we no longer have full time frame confluence. So I should be risk off, but this is an aggressive scalp, which means I'm also against my bias. So there's a few mistakes lining up here. We're seeing a lot of mistakes here. I'll even go as far as call this one a red star. I technically had trend favor because we're above the VWAP still, but it's not a good trend by any stretch of the imagination. And that's pretty much it. I technically had slip favor here. All right, so that'll be a red star. And then the next one looks like it's the trend has returned. And it looks like an ATR candle continuation. No, it's not. What is going on? I think this was just a breakout. Yeah, so this was an entry late breakout. So entry late and exit. What was my exit? Now, I'm not even going to bother with execution because this is going to be a red star. I can already tell. This was an ATR candle fade on a breakout. This is supposed to be a breakout retest. But price action is still way too tight. This was impulsive. I was against my bias and overtrading. I'll arguably put on overtrading. Risk off because we no longer have full time frame confluence. At least I don't think so. I mean, I guess we're technically above the VWAPs. It's just not a great trend. I think for me to have full time frame confluence tag, it needs to subjectively be a good trend. It has to look like a good trend, and this does not look like a good trend, even though on paper it should be. My calmness is also not great, so maybe calm, maybe content, and maybe patient. This will be a red star. Trade 13, we start to fix some mistakes. So let's listen to the narration here. If I had to guess, I would say that 31s are going to turn into resistance. ATR candle up, I'm going to short 31. Move my stop up to 32.50. And see if we can get the continuation. Pretty good continuation there. I'm going to take it off at 29.25. So really good trade here. What happened is we put in a reclaim resistance. So sometimes the idea behind a reclaim is that we're going to take it back right away. But I have noticed by trading them over the last year that a lot of times we don't. A lot of times we put in a resistance there, and that reclaim will often act as a resistance. And that's exactly what it did here. So we start to fix some mistakes here. My calmness still isn't great though, so I'll put maybe calm. I'm gonna put maybe content because I do think I held this a little too long, honestly. And maybe patient. I am very clear about this move though, so my clarity has returned. My VWAP tags should be above. We're no longer above the +1, but we're still above the default VWAP. In our favor, we had stop run. This has huge stop run potential to the downside. Haven't used that tag in a while. We are below the 50 SMA. I'm going to call this a B setup. This was an ATR candle fade, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it was. With quote unquote momentum, but this might honestly be a mean reversion. Yeah, I'm gonna call this a mean reversion because we don't have a lot of momentum here, but we do have a really good thesis for a mean reversion back down. So I will tag that as such. I did have slip favor on this one. No mistakes that I can think of. The price action has loosened up quite a bit, so I'm not gonna tag that as too tight. This was a pretty conservative scalp. We're now in risk off territory because I don't think we have full time frame confluence. In order for me to have confluence, it has to have the moving average as well. Entry good, exit late. I technically had range favor because I'm pretty sure we're in a range here. We had stop run potential. I'm going to put reclaim favor because we have a lot of reclaim below us that we can take back. And we've rejected off the support resistance area, so I'll put a support resistance area and multiple factors of support tag. This will be a green star. Yeah, I think that's good. Trade 14 is a 3-tick profit to the long side. So at the end of my session here, I'm getting a little bit of, and this actually makes sense because now we're heading into a range. My direction is no longer biased. I'm bi-directional here. So, that last trade was a short. This trade is a long. The next trade is a short. I take a couple more shorts and then I take a couple more longs. And that's because we're in a range. You kind of have to trade that way when you're in a range, but I would prefer to not trade ranges at all. But for the sake of trying to improve my system, let's just keep going. Review them objectively. So trade 14, let's play it. Not sure if a long would work. I'm going to try 31s, but I'm going to keep it super tight. Take it off at 32, 31.75, got it, and take profit. So I got the trade there, but if I fast forward a bit, I'm overall wrong about direction. I think I took that long because I thought we were going to keep going up, but I was wrong. This will be a C setup. It's not great. I technically had momentum, and this was technically an ATR candle fade, but it's just price action is still too tight, so I'm going to tag it as such. My calmness is decent, but it's not quite green, so I'm going to yellow star it. Maybe calm. I am much more content after that last winning trade, and I appear to be more patient because this was quite a few minutes after my last trade too. I'm going to put in between on market read because I think we should be short biased here. I'll even put that in the tags. I'm against the range. Yeah. Factors of support for that long. We had some small order blocks in our favor. And that's kind of it. We didn't have a whole lot else going for us on that long. I'm going to tag this as against bias because this was pretty aggressive in a risk-off environment. Entry. Oh, this might be a rare instance where I have red star a winning trade because I don't think I should have been long here. I don't think longs were warranted. It's not a horrible trade by any means, but I really should be directional here, and I think the direction is clearly short, and you can see that here is if I had taken a short trade at that ATR candle, it would have worked almost instantly, much more than 3 ticks that I got out of the long. So unfortunately, this will be a red star trade. Trade 15 is a 1-tick loss to the short side, so it looks like I try to catch this continuation, but we're at the bottom of a range, so I already know what to tag this as. We are range against. We do have some order blocks above us. We have some reclaim above us, but that's pretty much it. My entry was good. It was worth the attempt, I think. My exit was also good. I'm glad this was a 1 tick loss. Conservative, scalp, risk off. This was an ATR candle fade with momentum, and there is clearly momentum here. However, there's mean reversion. So I'll call this a D setup. Slip favor. I thought I was clear, but I'm really not. And I'll take it as calm. My heart rate has come back considerably. I'll put content and patient. I'll put maybe patient just because we're still pretty tight from the last trade. Yeah, I think that's good enough. This will be a yellow star. Trade 16 is a 4 tick profit to the short side. And it looks like a try two of the last one, so I'm going to copy the tags over. Copy tags, paste tags, and throw try two on there. So I think this was my only try two today. And this is a much better setup because we do actually have the reclaim resistance. So I will put support resistance area on there. I'll put multiple factors of support. Entry was good, exit was good, and this will be a green star. I think the try two here was much better than the try one. This will be a C setup. I still do technically have range against, though. Yeah, this will be a green star. Trade 17 is a 5 tick profit to the long side. And it looks like we have taken back a lot of reclaim. This is an ATR candle fade. And we arguably have momentum here, but we're still in a range, you know? So we're kind of range mid on it. But we did just bounce off the bottom. I'll put range favor on it. We don't really have range favor. This will also be a mean reversion. C setup, ATR candle fade. Above 50 SMA, right? Yeah, we are. Did I tag SMA on the last one? Yes, I did. Okay. Slip favor. This is a conservative scalp. Risk off. Entry good. Exit good. We have range favor. We have at least small order blocks in our favor. And I think we have strong tape, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, very strong tape. So strong tape. But no, I'll put support resistance area because we did bounce off that support resistance area below us. This is a pretty good mean reversion. I was clear, maybe calm. My heart rate's pretty elevated here, but I am content and I am patient. I'm getting a lot more content with my session as it goes on. I will green star this one. Trade 18, this is my last trade of the day, is a 3 tick profit to the long side. And it looks like it's actually very similar to the last trade, so I'm just going to copy the tags over. Copy tags, paste those in there. And this was an ATR candle fade, mean reversion, C above SMA. Yeah. The only thing different is we did not have order blocks on this one. Is the tape still strong? Not really, actually. The tape's kind of weak, so I'm going to get rid of that tape, strong tape tag. And yeah, I think that's it. I'll green star this one because I do still think it's a good setup. This mean reversion is playing out almost picture perfectly. And yeah, those are my trades. So let's go over daily report card real quick. My single long-term goal is to never attempt an idea more than twice, and I did exactly that today. At no point did I try an idea more than twice. That being said, though, there are areas in my session where I took a lot of consecutive losses in the same direction. But they weren't the same idea. They did have idea diversification. Like there were different things I was trying. It was just environment, and that's something that I need to improve on today, and that will go under my things I need to improve on list. Is I need to pay more attention to environment and location. When I had those 5 consecutive losses, we were in a horrible, horrible location. We were almost dead smack in the middle of a range. We had no volatility, and we were struggle grinding. We were just hugging the moving average, and I really want to get away from that. Like this, as much as it sucks for me to sit here and not trade, I need to learn how to do it. And this would have been great practice for me to just sit here and watch instead of trading every single movement. And that's why I had so many executions today. You know, if those 5 consecutive losses wouldn't have been there, if I just sat on my hands through that entire struggle grind instead of trading it, I would have had 5 fewer executions. So my total executions only would have been 13 instead of 18. And I would have been green on the day. I would have been very green on the day, actually. You know, if we didn't have all these. Let's filter this by rating, and then let's get rid of red stars and see what it looks like. Yeah, so if we got rid of red stars, we wouldn't have been very profitable on the day, but we would have been a lot more profitable than we actually were. Let's change that to currency. Yeah, so we would have been up about $100 if we didn't have those red stars. Which is fine. You know, red stars are always going to come, and I am still very happy with this session, but if I could take one thing away from it, it would be to pay more attention to those bad areas where we're just, there's no volatility, there's no orders on the delta, we're struggle grinding, so we are directional. Like I'm not trading pure chop. There was a direction there, but it was just so tight and so lethargic. I couldn't really get anything out of that price action. So I wish I would have sat on my hands there, and that's going to be something that I'm going to try doing in the next sessions. But objectively, I stuck to my goal today. So for that reason, I will give myself a grade of B today. There were still a lot of mistakes that I made. I was fighting my bias at points. I was emotional at points. But I also finished the day green after having such a rough point in the middle. I'm really happy with this review because we did come to find out that there was an objective mistake made that resulted in that huge pullback, and the objective mistake was just trading bad price action. You know, had I just stayed out of it, the P&L curve would have been much better. You know, so I'm really glad that I know that moving forward, that when price action is dull and lethargic like that, just stay away from it. You know, like if I didn't take any trades here, but I waited for this downtrend, like look how many opportunities are probably sitting here. You know, it's just stay out of it. When price gets really dull like this, just go do something else. You know, don't trade it, or sit and watch. Even better, sit and watch it, learn from it. Just don't trade it. Easiest trade I think was that 3-second hold time trade I had. Yeah, I think it would have been, or actually maybe it would have been, I think it was going to be trade number 13, 7-tick profit to the short side. It was kind of an experimental idea, but it was a great idea. You know, to short into a reclaim. Usually you're going long into reclaims, but I mean, we clearly rejected off the highs. We had a lot of trapped buyers on the way down, and I think going short here was just a no-brainer. I only had 2 ticks against me and 8 ticks in my favor, so it just awesome trade, and it just aligned so well. You know, it was so easy to execute. Boom in, boom out, so easy. I want to replicate trades like that in the future. Things I did good. I stuck to my goal primarily. I also didn't give up. There, there's a tag that I might implement moving forward called giving up, and it's where, and we've all been there. It's where your session is just going so poorly, and you're so far down in the hole that you just kind of give up on tracking context, and you give up on trying to create an idea, and you give up on trying to stay disciplined, and you just start clicking buttons. And I think there is a version of myself that after experiencing a drawdown like that today, it's so easy to give up and just to keep clicking buttons and to trade all the way into your daily loss limit. But I didn't do that today. I didn't give up. I stayed focused. I stayed dedicated to the system, and the system got me out of the hole. You know, it wasn't necessarily me that got out of this hole. It was the system. Like the system can work, and it does have positive expectancy. I just got to not fight it. You know, which brings me to my next thing is I didn't fight my system today. I listened to it. Whenever my system would tell me an idea, I would generally listen to it. But I would also pay attention to the context and the location, and the timing, the execution cues, to make a decision instead of just, impulsively entering trades. Things I need to improve on. I mentioned it before. I need to pay attention to location. The price action was just so tight for a while there. It was just hugging the moving average. And when price is hugging the moving average like that, there's no breadth, there's no volatility, there's no volume, there's no direction. It's just chopping, and trading that chop is really bad. Not to be confused with trading a range. I think my ability to come back today and make and dig out of that hole was trading a range. I was trading a mean reversion. So my system, while it is primarily a momentum system, it can be used to catch mean reversions and to trade in a range. It requires a lot more mental effort and a lot more caution. You got to be super careful trading in a range like that, but it can be done. It very simply can be done, and today was proof of that. And I'll keep that list short. That I think that's the biggest thing I want to focus on is paying attention to trade location. So I think that's pretty much it. In summary, this was a good day. I would easily call this a good day. It wasn't easy by any means, and sessions like these are always going to happen where you as a trader are tested and your system is tested. And I think today was a good stress test of that. Those losses that I took were mostly yellow star, meaning they were good setups. Objectively, they were setups according to my system, but that's not good enough. I can't just trade every single setup that presents itself. I have to be discretionary, and I have to decide whether or not to take that trade based on my contextual cues. And those trades, those 5 consecutive losses, were lacking that discretion. I was not paying enough attention to how tight the price action was, the fact that we were in the middle of a range, the fact that there was no volume. If I had leaned a little bit more into my discretion, I could have avoided almost all of those losses. And I think I would have been in a much, much better spot today. Which is just something that it's information. That it's information about my system. It's information about me as a trader, and I hope to apply that information moving forward. So I will catch you guys in the next one.